You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Armchair Cricket Podcast. This is a podcast focusing on Test cricket by armchair critics of the game. As always, we would like to thank all our listeners for their support. Please do continue to listen to us and spread the word about our podcast to your cricket loving friends. If you haven't done it already, please subscribe to our podcast on the platform you're listening to us on, whether it's Podbean, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Castbox, anything like that. You can find us on all these platforms by searching for Armchair Cricket Podcast. Do not forget to leave us a rating, preferably a 5-star rating, and also let us know your feedback. You can reach out to us by email, armchair.cricket@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Twitter @armchaircrickpod. You can also find us on Facebook. The links to all these channels are described in the description section below. Now, continuing with our focus on World Cup team selection, we have a special feature today on the New Zealand cricket team. We're also delighted to tell you that we're joined today by the Cricketeers Podcast from New Zealand for this section. Now, having said that, I would like to introduce you to my co-host Ajit. Hello, Ajit. How are you doing?
Hi, Giri. Good morning. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning to you too.
Well, this is a day of festivities here in the Netherlands. It's the King's Day. It's the holiday that has been given because it's the birthday of the King. So we would like to wish our monarch a very happy birthday.
Right? Yes, we do indeed. Yeah. And what a day today. It's beautifully raining outside.
Well, it's
while we are recording this.
Yeah. It's appropriate. It's proper Dutch weather, I would say, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right. Let's get cracking then.
So, before we begin with the IPL stuff, I think we should quickly take a look at the trivia question. So, the trivia question we had asked last week was, which captain has the best win-loss percentage ratio in cricket World Cups? And we had set a cutoff of 10 matches minimum, right? So, this shows that we are looking for a captain who's not only, probably very successful, but also has a longevity. So, but considering that we were discussing Australia last week, I think the answer is very obvious. I was surprised to see not a lot of correct answers actually. So I think we had one correct answer. Our regular friend and sometimes guest on the podcast, Karna, I think made a correct answer on Podbean. Outside of that, I didn't see many correct answers. So the correct answer is Ricky Ponting. Right. So this guy won 3 World Cups. So he has 29 matches as a captain, and his win-loss ratio is an astounding 92.85%. Right. Nobody even comes close to him. Nobody. I think Steve Waugh has an 85% win-loss ratio, and not a lot of captains come this close. So, as I said, it was sort of a very obvious sort of a question, but nonetheless, it always shows how big Ponting's achievements are when it comes to World Cups, and even otherwise, I would say, right?
Yeah.
All right. Having said that, I think we can go on. Let's go on to the IPL section, Giri. So, what is this? What have you done? Have you done any special, ceremonies?
Yeah, I've cast a spell on all the other teams so that we lose against RCB. Yeah.
Wow. 4 out of 5. RCB's resurgence continues. So, they seem to have the Kings 11 Punjab this time. Wow. And they beat them. Yeah. Would you like to quickly take us through some highlights of the scores?
Yeah, but before that, I have to tell you, I have to say that this was played at Bangalore, right? And while it was played at Bangalore, it was a 200 plus score, and RCB for a change managed to defend it.
Right.
So it's amazing that they're able to defend such scores. Although I think they would have had their heart in their mouths when Umesh Yadav still bowled the last over of the second innings while RCB were bowling. I think it was almost deja vu. Although on this occasion it was I think it was a bit too much. It was too steep a mountain to climb for Kings 11 towards the end. But let's look at the scores quickly. RCB batted first. Kings 11 won the toss and decided to bowl, so RCB had to bat first. They made 202 for the loss of 4 wickets, with AB de Villiers coming good towards the end, especially towards the death overs, last 3-4 overs. I think he scored very, very quickly, and he made 82 not out towards the end. It was accompanied by Marcus Steyn, also playing a very good hand with 46 runs, and they helped RCB reach that score of 202. I remember watching this. I think RCB even touched score of 100 runs by about 14th over or so, 14th or 15th over, and then they managed to reach 200 in about. I mean, they scored the remaining runs in 5 or 6 overs, the last 5-6 overs. So it was true testament to AB de Villiers' skills, unbelievable hitting, like always. Kings 11 were also a bit sloppy in the field. I think there were some misfields here and there, but in the end, that was a very good score. But we all know what. I mean, I keep saying this. Bangalore Chinnaswamy Stadium is a bowler's graveyard. It's basically, even if you score 200, you're not assured of being able to defend that. Notwithstanding the kind of bowling lineup they RCB have, especially depleted because Dale Steyn has unfortunately picked up an injury again, the same shoulder. So he couldn't play today. So they were led by Team Saudi, who hasn't had a lot of good form in this tournament either. But Kings 11 started quite well. I think the start was explosive from Chris Gale for a change. He didn't try to settle down. He went after the bowling immediately.
Right.
Rahul stayed there. He was also looking very fluent. But something happened. They all of them had starts until I would say the middle order, lower middle order, and I almost thought when Nick Pooran and David Miller were batting, I thought they were going to chase this down.
Exactly.
But they lost 2 wickets in quick succession, and once those 2 were out, they lost all the momentum they had, Kings 11, and in the end, it turned out 202 was more than enough. And RCB won the match by 17 runs.
One main thing you can say is the number of runs that RCB scored versus Kings 11 scored in the last 3 overs. So this was something I was reading. Kings 11 conceded 66 runs in their last 3 overs.
Wow.
Right? And RCB conceded 9 runs.
Right.
So this was all there was to it. Even though they were sort of ahead of RCB right through the chase, the last 3 overs cost Kings 11 the match. And also, I think they were all right. They were in with a shout until Nicholas Pooran got out. And then it was a bit too much, I think. Because, yesterday or the day before yesterday, where Rajasthan Royals were able to chase down such a daunting target as well, with Jofra Archer and Riyan Parag doing something.
Yeah.
So they were able to really bat well, and sort of if somebody had supported Nicholas Pooran at that stage, maybe even Ashwin, maybe Mandeep Singh. Unfortunately, they couldn't, get over the line. But also credit has to be given to both Saini and I think the last 3 overs. One was bowled by Saudi, one by Yadav, one by Saini, if I'm not wrong, right? Yeah. So they have to be given credit there. That also, first of all, Kohli planned it in such a way that his main bowlers retained some, overs. And the other thing, of course, that they did their job as expected. I think Yadav finally redeemed himself a little bit. That was a very nice match for us.
Yeah, but I have to mention something. Nick Pooran. Wow, he's quite explosive. I didn't expect him, to be so good. I mean, we all know of his talents, but he's finally coming good. So it really bodes well for the West Indian cricket team because they've also included him in the squad that goes to England for the World Cup.
Right.
And he's also a wicketkeeper, just like Shea Hope. So they have very good two very good wicketkeeper batsmen in their side. So
perfect. No, it's a good thing. So that he has to come off age, so to say, and also be very strong for them. He could be just used as a middle order finisher or something lower middle order finisher, so to say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. The other important news is that Beuren Hendricks has been chosen by Mumbai Indians to replace Alzarri Joseph, who's been ruled out and who unfortunately also lost out on his place in the World Cup. We'll get through this a bit later in the podcast, I think, but it's unfortunate, right?
Yeah.
All right. And a couple of other small news. Well, before we look at the Mumbai Indians match against CSK yesterday, I think Watson has decided to retire from BBL and basically has retired from all Australian cricket, it looks like. So well done him. And well, I mean, his contributions for Sydney Thunder were very good over the last 2 to 3 years, I think, and they'll miss him, right? All right, now let's look at this Mumbai Indians versus CSK match quickly. Mumbai Indians seems to bring out their best when they play CSK. I think these are the top two most successful teams, right, in the franchise. So franchisees. So I would say maybe they reserve their best against Chennai. And well, I mean, when you look at the halfway stage in the match, at 155 for 4, you thought Mumbai Indians could have done a bit more, could have tried to have hit a few more runs. And it looked like even though it was a Chennai, they may have been a bit short. I mean, one special mention to Mitch Santner, of course, who took 2 runs. Oh, I'm sorry, who gave 13 runs and took 2 wickets in his 4 overs. And you were telling me off air something about him bowling, Giri.
Yeah, he was bowling quite quick actually for a spinner, for a finger spinner who would, you would expect him to flight the ball a bit and bowl slowly in order to get touches from the wicket. But he was bowling in the high 90s, 95 to 100 kilometers per hour. And he was bowling on a good length, bowling on leg stump, I would say. And the ball was turning square
I see.
at that speed. So it was unbelievable. If you look at the way Murali Vijay was beaten, sorry, not Murali Vijay, who was the other guy? I forgot his name. I think it was Rohit Sharma, in fact. Yeah, Rohit Sharma was trying to, play him off the front foot towards the cover, but he was getting beaten on a couple of occasions, at least, that I can remember from my memory. And also Hardik Pandya. Hardik Pandya also, was a bit scratchy when he started, but he stayed out till the end, along with Pollard. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had, they wouldn't have had 255 runs on the board. I think it proved very crucial. This was not a 170 or a 180 wicket. This was a slowish pitch with a lot of purchase for the spinners. But Santner was exceptionally good for a finger spinner. I think that may be his best IPL figures.
I think so as well. And I heard a commentator say this was one of the best IPL figures in the last couple of seasons. I think Ashwin had done something similar in a previous match. And I think in the match versus Bangalore, if I'm not wrong, Ashwin had 15 for 1 in 4 overs. That was the best previous figures by a spinner. And just now, a couple of days later, Santner topped him. So this is one thing. But when Chennai batted, I think they really again missed Dhoni's influence because I mean Vijay held one end of the innings together up well until the 12th over or so, but I mean there was no other big contributions right through in the top 6, top 7, and then Bravo and Santner did their bit trying to revive the innings, but I think it was a bit too late. So a lot of credit goes to again another spinner here, Krunal Pandya, who took 7 for 2 in 3 overs. My goodness, and of course Bumrah, right? 2 for 10. In 3 overs.
And Krunal Pandya was not turning the ball as much as Santner was doing. But, if you look at how Ambati Rayudu was dismissed, for example, it was basically an arm ball.
Right.
When he was playing for the spin, he played all around it. So he was the ball went through the gap between the bat and the pad. So it was also unfortunate to see him get out so soon. I think he got out for a duck. So they had no stability in the middle order. I think they lacked the presence of Dhoni, and I think was hugely felt there in the field as well.
Also, I think Faf's beginning. Faf used to provide solid beginnings, and I think they missed that as well, possibly. No, all in all, a very enthralling match yesterday, and this means Mumbai have come to second now.
Wow,
right?
that's
So as we were saying last week, probably those both are sort of more or less scheduled to take the top 2 position, right?
Yeah.
So the rest of it will be very interesting. I think
fourth place is, I think, still up for grabs.
Yes, fourth place is with Kolkata, Rajasthan, and Bangalore now on similar points or same number of points. They may actually not make it. Sunrisers might take the 4th spot, with Delhi more or less certain to take the 3rd one. It's going to be interesting though, but there is still an outside chance Bangalore may make it. I've said it here, so they'll not, but we never know.
Well, it's okay. It's okay to jinx it. Yeah.
All right then. Now, going on with the World Cup preview section. Today we are going to review the New Zealand team's chances at the upcoming World Cup. And joining us and helping us with this and giving us their expert analysis are the Cricketeers Podcast. So we have Adam and Rick from the Cricketeers Podcast joining us. Hello guys, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us on your podcast, Ajit.
No problem.
Hi. Thank you.
All right. So would you like to give us a quick introduction of what cricketers are and what you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a podcast that operates out of New Zealand. So we've been going since around October 2017. So we run our radio show, which then gets turned into a podcast from a community radio station in Hamilton, New Zealand called Free FM. And basically the first part of our show was just to talk about cricket, and as we've expanded on, we've got more into talking with international and domestic players from New Zealand. A few weeks ago, we spoke also with Gary Wilson, who is the T20 captain for Ireland. So our focus has kind of changed a little bit. We do look at cricket not only in New Zealand, but also throughout the world as well. Both massive cricket fans and both been involved in cricket in terms of following and also covering for the last few years.
All right. I mean, I think it'll be very nice that you guys have decided to join us and, give us the local perspective on the New Zealand team and their chances, possibly. So before we get to that, I think let's take a quick look at New Zealand at the World Cups, right? So New Zealand have a very proud cricketing tradition, and, they have been a part of all of the World Cups that have been played so far. For example, if you look at, you've had the who's who of New Zealand cricket that have represented New Zealand through the World Cups. For example, in the 1975 World Cup, they were led by Glenn Turner, right? And then you had Mark Burgess in the 79 World Cup. And right from then on, in the 83, you had Howarth. Then you had some, 87, it was Jeff Grove. 92, it was Martin Grove, right? And then, of course, then it was in the 1996, it was Lee Germon. I think it was a bit of a unexpected, a new thing there. But outside of that, then the Stephen Fleming era began from 1990 to 2007, 1999. Those World Cups, it was Stephen Fleming. And then, of course, from 2011, it was Ross Taylor. And 2015, it was Brendan McCullum. So you had a very proud cricketing tradition. And, of course, when you look at the results itself, New Zealand have played 79 matches so far at the World Cups. They have won 48, they have lost 30, and there has been one no result. And of course, I mean, when it comes to results or no results and whatnot, I think the most disappointing match would have been the World Cup final, the 2015 World Cup final. Were you guys there? Probably, Adam, Rick, did you get a chance to see this live?
Unfortunately, didn't get to see it live. Watched it on television, and like most Kiwis, when we watched that match, seeing McCullum out really early on it, did deflate us a little bit. But I thought in that match that New Zealand got themselves back into the match after losing some early wickets, because Martin Guptill and Kane Williamson also both got out early. Ross Taylor put on a really good partnership with Grant Elliott, and we're actually looking at building a good total at that point. And then Ross Taylor was caught behind a fantastic catch by Brad Haddon, and then from there the wheels just completely fell off, and we didn't get a total that would even put pressure on Australia. And unfortunately, we just didn't get enough runs on the board, and it was pretty much a game over. To be honest with you, that match was so disappointing. I didn't even watch Australia bat. As soon as our innings was over, I basically didn't watch it. I was that deflated. I knew that we didn't have enough. Even if we got early wickets, it was a good batting pitch. A score of maybe 270 plus would have put a bit of pressure on. And as I said, at one stage, we were looking probably at possibly scraping to 250 plus, I would have thought. Especially after the start we had, it was a really good recovery. But our lower order just wasn't able to capitalise on the partnership from Grant Elliott and Ross Taylor.
Yeah. I think Corey Anderson, Luke Ronchi, and Vettori. I mean, they are Saudi even, but there was not a lot there. Rick, what are your thoughts about the finals? Were you there? Were you seeing it or something?
Same as Adam, I watched it on TV. I did actually watch the Australia innings as well, but I felt exactly the same as Adam. At one stage, we were 150 for free after 35 overs, and I felt 250 to 270 if we could keep wickets would be possible. And in the World Cup final, that's not a big score, but that might have been defendable. But fortunately, as Adam says, the wheels fell off completely then. To be very fair, Australia did bowl very well throughout the match. But really, we lost the game. I think in the first half hour, it was always uphill from there. And at the end of the day, like Adam at half time, I knew we didn't have enough runs on the board. Of course, Trent Boult did actually manage to get Aaron Finch out in the second over, but Australia consolidated after that and never really looked in any trouble, unfortunately. So, but of course, a lot of people will say if you're ever going to win a World Cup, you've actually got to lose a final first, and I think that applies to a lot of sports.
Well, I mean, what would England say then, Rick?
About what?
About losing a final and then maybe winning something. I mean, I'm kidding. I'm pulling it.
Yes.
All right. I mean, one anecdote that stays in my mind is what Brad Haddin had to say to Brendan McCullum, right? Just when he went into bat, I think there was some sledging going on, and which is that's how they do it in Australia. And I think he had something to say to Brendan McCullum about what he would do. And I think it was not anything unfriendly. It was just, will you take this guy on, mate, or something. He made sure that Brendan McCullum was that much more turned on when Stark came in with the first over. I think losing your captain, Brendan McCullum, he was so talismanic. Losing him for a duck probably, made a big difference there to the top of that order, because you had a lot of hitters. Well, Williamson could stabilize and Guptill could hit. Somehow losing McCullum for a duck in the first over probably sort of deflated also the team in the dressing room. That happens.
I agree with that, but then, good sides recover. If you look at the 1996 World Cup, Sri Lanka at Eden Gardens, another hostile environment, they ended up losing Jayasuriya and Kaluwitharana within the first over, and they were able to scrape through to 250 plus, and they won that match against India at Eden Gardens. So yeah, sure, we lost McCullum early, but McCullum played that way the whole tournament, and he was successful with that ultra aggressive approach, and I think he just went into that match with the same positive intent. Unfortunately, he got a really good delivery from Mitchell Stark, bowled at over 150 k's an hour.
Yeah. I mean, it was not unplayable, but in the first over of a World Cup, that makes a big difference. It is unfortunate. Anywho, going on, if you were to look at some of the key performers for New Zealand over the years at World Cups, right? If you were to look at the batting, I don't know, have you guys already looked this up, or would you guys like to take a look? Who's the most, who has made the most runs for New Zealand at World Cups?
I haven't had a look, but just thinking about who's played in the World Cups and who's played the most World Cups, I mean, Fleming would possibly be up there. I mean, he's played, the 1996 World Cup, 1999 World Cup, also played the 2003 World Cup, from memory, 2007. Ross Taylor's played a few World Cups now, so he would be up there. Scott Styris would be a bit of a smoky for someone that's scored heavily in World Cups. I mean, he's got a very good average over World Cups. I remember an innings that he played against Sri Lanka in the 2003 World Cup on a turning deck, and he played a fantastic innings, and he was always a really underrated player for New Zealand. I would say they'd be up there. Glenn Turner was another one back in the 80s. Fantastic opening batsman. Scored a big score against East Africa. So he'd be up there, I'm sure.
All right. I mean, you've got more or less the top 10. I mean, for me, Scott Styris was a bolter there. I did not expect. So Fleming is the top most run scorer, 1,075 runs, average 35. Right, you're right, 33 matches there. Scott Styris is the second most run scorer, 909. He's ahead of Martin Grove, Martin Guptill, Brendan McCullum, who would be the top 5, right? Taylor is number 6. So it's very interesting. Glenn Turner, as you said, is number 7. Then you have Keynes, Macmillan, and Toos, who will round up the top 10, right?
Yeah. I think what will be interesting from a statistical point of view is that Martin Guptill's played 2 World Cups. He's coming into his 3rd, whereas Ross Taylor's coming into his 4th. Martin Guptill has got 809 runs in 3 World Cups, and Stephen Fleming 1,075. So you would expect that Martin Guptill could well become our leading ever run scorer in World Cups by the end of the tournament.
He will.
Absolutely.
He will. I mean, all he needs is one big 100, and then the rest will come easily, right?
Yeah,
and you have 9 matches.
Martin Guptill averages 57 in World Cups, so he has done very well in the 2 World Cups he's played in. We very much need him to perform well, of course, in this one.
I think it also shows how good Steyn Fleming was, because he was always good in World Cups, and you think about the 1999, 2003, and 2007 World Cups when New Zealand did extremely well. And in particular with Steyn Fleming, in 2003 against South Africa at the Wanderers, played probably one of New Zealand's greatest ever one-day innings, and he really led that side and was a really golden period for New Zealand. Where in 1999 we made the semi-finals. 2003 we made the semi-finals as well before being knocked out by Australia when we had them on the ropes. And then again in 2007, again we made semi-finals before we were knocked out by Sri Lanka. We had a really good series leading up to that semi-final against Australia where we beat them 3-0 at home. So, there was that period where we were very strong in one-day cricket. Guys like Chris Cairns was in the mix. Shane Bond was around in that period as well. Jacob Oram. So New Zealand had a really good core of really good all-rounders and some dynamic batsmen at the top, well led by Steyn Fleming, who was really innovative with his captaincy.
Pretty much. I mean, for me, New Zealand is always a team who's always punched well above their weight, right? And they've always shown that at the World Cups by making consistently either the knockouts or the semi-finals or sometimes even the finals, as you said, right? It's fantastic. Now, if you were to look at the bowlers, so would either of you like to take a guess who's the most successful bowler for New Zealand if you've not already seen it?
I'm gonna look at it and I'm gonna think about who's played again the most World Cups. So I'm looking for probably Vettori. So he would have played 99, 2003, 2007, 2011, 2015. So I'm going to say Daniel Vettori.
Very, very close. And Rick, a guess, or did you already see it?
Well, I've got it in front. In front of me. But to be perfectly honest, I would have guessed Daniel Vettori. I must admit, I wouldn't have guessed that Jacob Oram.
Exactly.
Has also got 36 wickets in World Cups, and I also didn't realise that Tim Southee in 2 World Cups has got 33. So
yes,
yeah, that surprised me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think Tim Southee's always been a very key performer in the big tournaments for New Zealand, and I think he's shown that here. And also, if you look at the top 5, there's one more bolter there, Chris Harris. Nobody would expect Chris Harris, 28 matches, 32 wickets. So the top 2 are, Oram and Vettori tied at 36 each. Then you have Southee at 33, and then Harris at 32, Bond at 30, Shane Bond, and Trent Bolt with just 9 matches, he has 22 wickets. He's on number 5, number 6. Right? Hadley comes after that. All the big guys come after that. Right? It's very interesting. So, but nonetheless, I mean, going into this World Cup, I think Southee will still be very, very important. The opening bowling pair, Southee Bolt, I think they're very talismanic for you guys, and I am really hoping, because they have I think half their matches are early morning starts, 10:30 starts. The other half are the afternoon starts. I think they'll be able to exploit something that is in the air, the swing. I think Southee and Bolt would be very, very crucial. What do you guys think?
Yeah, look, I think that Trent Bolt now is one of the leading bowlers in world cricket in all formats, whether it's one-day cricket, whether it's Test cricket, and if he ever plays T20, he's an outstanding player. So he's been the linchpin of the Black Cap side since the 2015 World Cup in one-day matches. What's quite interesting about Trent Bolt is going into the 2015 World Cup, he wasn't even the first choice opening left-arm bowler. That was Mitchell McClenaghan.
Exactly.
Trent Bolt was given his opportunity in the 2015 World Cup, and as we know, he performed extremely well. And remember that spell at Eden Park, Australia were doing extremely well with Warner and Finch at the top of the order. Daniel Vettori got a vital breakthrough. I think it was Warner from memory, and then Trent Bolt in that middle stage completely ripped Australia apart. He has been the linchpin over the last few years. In terms of bowlers for New Zealand, I'd say he's now the next best behind Sir Richard Hadley. He's taken his game to another level. He's going to be really, really important. Now, Tim Southee for me is a really interesting one. Now, Tim Southee since the 2015 World Cup hasn't really been setting the world on fire. in one-day cricket. His test form has been very good, but in terms of the white ball stuff, look, he's averaging, well over 40 in ODI cricket as an opening bowler. He struggled a bit last season. Look, he got a 6-wicket bag against Bangladesh, so he got himself back into some form in the one-day game, albeit against Bangladesh. But look, it's got to be some big pressure on Tim Southee, I think, to retain his spot in the side. Matt Henry is a similar bowler, got similar pace. Matt Henry is probably a few Ks faster, 45 Ks, and has a higher ceiling in terms of pace. But he does swing the ball as well, like Tim Southee. He's got a fantastic one-day record. So I think Matt Henry could be really pushing the door down to get that opening slot with Trent Boult.
I can understand. So let's get into the squad right away. So we are discussing the fast bowlers. Let's go one step further. How about Lockie Ferguson? Rick, maybe? Or Adam? How about these? Yeah.
Well, first of all, just to add a footnote, I agree with Adam on the Henry and Southee situation. And Southee, unfortunately, has averaged 48 with the ball since the 2015 World Cup. But of course, in the last game that he played, he actually managed 6 wickets. So maybe he's going to do what he has done in the past and turn up and bowl really well in the World Cup. He averages 23 in the 2 World Cups he's played in. So we hope to repeat of that. But I suspect that Matt Henry is actually going to play the first game. He seems to be ahead in the pecking order. Lockie Ferguson, I believe, is a massive talent for New Zealand, and he's very much a dark horse. I don't think he's really that well known internationally. He came onto the scene and he bowls around 150. But what he has done in the last year or two is he's added a lot of variety to his bowling. He's now got a very well disguised slower ball. He's quite a reasonable bowler to death, and certainly from the point of view of New Zealand's chances, it's critical that Lockie Ferguson takes some wickets in the middle overs. Sorry.
Right. Adam, anything to add?
Yeah, absolutely. Lockie Ferguson's just come on in the last couple of years, and as Rick points out, he's got a lot of variations. He's not just a 150k plus bowler, and you can't be in this day and age in one-day cricket. You've got to be able to mix it up and bowl at different stages. I think with Lockie Ferguson, he's got a fantastic Yorker, and he showed that bowling Darwin in one of those T20 matches last season. Got a great bouncer. I just remember the T20 match. I can't remember who it was. But again, got one of the Indian batsmen, I can't remember who it was, with a vicious bouncer. He showed his variety as well against Sri Lanka. There was a stage where Kulshal Perera was batting, and Sri Lanka were a little bit behind the 8 ball, but they were still in the match. And there was over that Lockie Ferguson bowled to Perera, bowled these couple of slower ball bouncers that hit Perera in the ribs. And then followed it up with a bouncer and got a wicket. And it just kind of shows you, for me, the development of Lockie Ferguson over the last few years. He's actually was more of a first-class bowler, in my opinion, than a List A performer. He's got a very good first-class record. His List A record isn't too bad, but he was rushed into the side, I think, with Adam Milne being injured. And the Black Caps really needed a fast bowler, an enforcer in that middle stage. With Adam Milne being injured, it kind of opened up a bit of a spot for Lockie Ferguson. Lockie Ferguson has really taken it with both hands. Lockie Ferguson's got a really good record at the moment. He bowled extremely well in Pakistan, or against Pakistan in the UAE on some of those flat decks. He got a 5 for over there. His record against some of the bigger nations isn't as good as it is against some of the middle tier nations. That's probably my only concern. Albeit he's still inexperienced. He had a rough time against Australia in his first couple of one-day matches. I remember his first match, he bowled extremely quick, got David Warner out, but on that occasion he did go for a lot of runs. But he has, I think, developed a lot since then. So I'm really interested to see how he goes against the Australian, South Africa, India as well in the World Cup.
I mean, I'm always astonished at the number of stats you can recall, Adam, right at the top of your head. Fantastic. Anyway, I mean, yes, I think he would add this, this extra pace dimension to this attack. Saudi bowls more or less medium fast, but Bolt is more like fast medium, right? But this guy is properly fast. So him, and I think Henry is also, fast medium as well. So this guy is like, he adds that additional dimension, and I think they would do well to use him sort of as a rapier or a thrusting weapon rather than as a mace or something. So occasionally he would not probably bowl all the overs, but he would bowl less number of overs, and he would probably cause more impact. He would look to take wickets, or as you say, as Rick mentioned, get wickets in the middle overs possibly, right? So how about the backup all-rounders? You have Colin de Grandhomme, you have Colin Munro, and you have Jimmy Neesham. Jimmy Neesham brought himself back into the mix as well. Do you think two of these three will play? Only one of these three will get to play? What do you think on a given day?
I think that we'll end up playing two all-rounders.
Mm-hmm.
That's the gut feel. I'm not sure whether Colin Munro probably fits in the all-rounder category. I know Rick has probably different thoughts to me on that. Colin Munro averages over 50 in one-day cricket, so I'm not sure you can really classify him as like a genuine all-rounder. Look, Jimmy Neesham had a great season last season in our home summer. Came back against Sri Lanka. I remember that innings at the Mount where he played a fantastic innings in it. And if he would have had a few more balls left, I'm sure he would have broken the world record for the fastest 50 in ODI cricket. He was striking the ball superbly well. A season or so ago, he was dropped from the Black Caps after a dismal Champions Trophy. Mm-hmm. And then he was also dropped from the Otago side at one point. But he moved to Wellington, and it's really revitalised his career. And he seems like a guy that's in confident form. His batting's always been very good. He's a technically proficient batsman. A series against Australia, he proved that he could play up the order against the quality Australian attack, and he batted well against them. He batted well against South Africa in a series preceding that series in Australia. We know how technically good he is with the bat. Against India, he got his maiden Test century a few years ago when he batted with Brendan McCullum. Got another Test century in the West Indies. Look, he's a quality batsman. His bowling has been a little bit of an issue. He tends to fall away a little bit, which means the ball angles down the leg side, and he can really lose his rhythm. He's been using the depth for the Black Caps unsuccessfully in the past. Marcus Stoinis has got after him when Marcus Stoinis has played that incredible innings. A few seasons back for Australia. Right. So that's been pretty much his weakness. I think his bowling has come on. He's been bowling a lot quicker. He's actually surprisingly fast. Like, he can bowl 140 plus on a good day when his rhythm is right. He's actually a very big lad when you actually see him. He's got a 6'3", and he's solidly built as well. So he's going to be a vital component for the Black Caps. I think with Corey Anderson as well, being out of the frame, Black Caps have really been searching for an all-rounder. Doug Bracewell was another one that was in and around, but he's more at this stage probably more of a bowling all-rounder, where Jimmy Neesham I would suggest is the batting all-rounder.
So Rick, Colin de Grandhomme maybe?
Just to add a little bit to that, I think one of the strengths, as you pointed out earlier, over the years, is New Zealand have had some very good all-rounders in the past. Now, if you compare the three options to, we had Grant Elliott, Corey Anderson, and Dan Vettori as the three all-rounders in the last World Cup, and they all did pretty well. I think it is going to be a critical area in terms of whether New Zealand can actually make the semi-finals again. How the all-rounders do, and I include in that Mitchell Santner as, if you like, the Daniel Vettori replacement. And I'm certain we will play two of Neesham, de Grandhomme, and Munro in the all around the slots. I have the same concerns as Adam that. Particularly in English conditions, those bowlers could be hit a little bit. None of them are really that. Mitchell Santner is okay on the bowling front, quite tidy, but are all three of the quicker bowler all-rounders have not got that great an economy rate. I agree with Adam. Jimmy Neesham is a little bit hit and miss. It depends on whether his rhythm is working well on the day. Colin Munro is a bit of a dobbly bowler,
Right.
which on the right pitch in England could be successful, but on a flat deck he could be hammered. And Colin de Grandhomme could well be taken apart on a good wicket in England. So that's my concern there.
So you would say maybe both of you, I don't know. So Colin Munro and Jimmy Neesham are the starting all-rounders rather than Colin de Grandhomme and somebody else. For me, Colin de Grandhomme adds a bit more with the ball than I think either of these two, because he can also swing the ball. He usually takes the ball first change also for New Zealand in tests. So I thought with the England, some of the matches starting earlier, maybe they will use him as a sort of a holding bowler because you have two new balls in one days, right? So maybe he can give you that swing perspective as well. But I don't know what you guys think of that.
Yeah, look, I think Colin de Grandhomme will, if you compare him to Colin Munro, for example, they've both got pretty similar records as batsmen, like when you actually break it down. Now, you're right, it's where Colin de Grandhomme is at the moment is a better bowler, and as you point out, he's actually opened the bowling for New Zealand in Test cricket, and he can do that, that seamer role, that first change seamer role. But I guess it depends on the pitches in England, and that's going to be a big question. Are they going to be flat? Is the ball going to move around? Those types of things. So you're right. If the ball does start to move around, then Colin de Grandhomme could be really handy in England. If the ball doesn't move around, I think his lack of variations could make him cannon fodder for some of the bigger nations.
Yeah.
Right. So now let's look at the spinners, though. You have Ish Sodhi and Santner. Do you think both will start, or one of them may start given the pitch? Or
I think in an ideal world, I think it'll just be the one spinner. So if it's a pitch suited more to obviously seamers, you're going with the one spinner only. Also, Mitchell Santner was improved his batting. The series against England last year, he played a couple of vital knocks for the Black Caps, including a match-winning one at Seddon Park. And he's actually been performing quite well in the IPL. He was injured at the start of this season. It's taken him a little while to get into rhythm. He's always been a really tidy bowler in the one-day game. Not as big a wicket taker. So that would be, the question mark about Mitchell Santner. We know he's tidy. He's only going for around 5 runs and over. And in modern one-day cricket, that's absolutely incredible. But it's just his wicket-taking ability. You compare that with someone like Ish Sodhi, who has the ability to take wickets in the one-day game. He's shown that in T20 cricket as well. He's more of a wicket-taking bowler, but he is more prone to bowling the loose delivery. So, it depends on whether the Black Caps want to go all-out attack or they want someone that's just going to keep it tight while you've got Lockie Ferguson attacking, you've got Trent Boult attacking, and also you've got either Henry or Southey up front attacking as well.
Right. Any spinner you think missed out? Maybe Todd Astle or anybody else who may have missed out on this team that Sodhi was chosen ahead of, or maybe Santner was a late inclusion, right? He was back from injury only towards the back end of the New Zealand's, a season.
I think New Zealand have picked the right two spinners. It did appear quite likely that Todd Astle was going to get the second spinner slot, but I totally agree with taking Ish Sodhi because it's very important for New Zealand to have an attacking option, a second person in addition to Lockie Ferguson, who can take wickets in the middle overs on pitches with the right conditions for him. So I think it's very important to have that player available in the squad. I personally would normally play two spinners in England. That would be my view, but I don't think that's what the Black Caps are going to do. I think that if we take the round robin stage, I will be surprised if Ish Sodhi plays more than two or three of the games, sadly.
Right. Okay. Also, anybody else you think in the lineup who can bowl spin? to back these two up by any chance? You have a bunch of, fast bowling all-rounders and also people who can chip in.
Well, the one that comes to mind is Kane Williamson, and we actually asked Kane Williamson this question, and he mentioned to us if the pitch would suit, he's prepared to bowl. So I think with Kane Williamson, he's been reluctant to bowl himself, and possibly that's just due to the fact that he's now the captain of the side. Also, a few years ago, he did have some issues with his bowling action, and since then he just hasn't bowled as much in international cricket. He played he bowled an extremely important spell against Australia a few years ago in the Chappell Hadley series in Hamilton, and got some vital wickets on that occasion. So he has proven that he can be a bit of a golden arm. It'd be great to see him used as an option more. I think it would give the Black Caps a better balance, even if he bowled 2 or 3 overs, just to break it up a little bit, because he can get vital wickets, and I know Rick is a bit of a fan of him as a bowler.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Absolutely, Adam. I mean, if we go back, Kane Williamson's last season playing for Northern Districts before he got promoted to the Black Caps when he was 19, he was actually batting number 3, and he was also the number 1 spinner for Northern Districts at a start level, and had a very good season. He seems to since he had to go away and work, have a year off and work at his action, he seems to have lost confidence a little bit in his bowling. It would be a big plus for the Black Caps if he does actually bowl a few overs. But I think there's only been 2 white ball matches in the last season where Kane Williamson has turned his arm over, and I think he might have bowled 1 over in tests. So it doesn't look that likely. But I absolutely agree with you that if that was a genuine option, and somebody who in the right conditions would always bowl at least 2 or 3 overs, as Adam says, it would very much add to the balance of the side. It is a weakness that he's the only person in the top 5 who can actually bowl, and very rarely does.
Well, I think you got that right. A little bit of a balance would be provided also on a pitch that you sort of misread possibly, where a bit more spin is available. You would be able to exploit it if one of your top order would also be able to chip in with a few overs. But nonetheless, I think the balance looks very good from the bowling perspective. So when it comes to keepers, you have Blundell and of course Latham. So let's say Latham is the starting keeper.
Yep.
Yeah, like it's been very, very clear that Latham will keep in all the games, and Blundell is very much there just as an emergency backup if Latham is injured. Obviously, if Latham is not injured, I don't expect Blundell to play any games in the World Cup.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm with you, Rick. I can't see Blundell getting a game unless Tom Latham's injured.
Right.
Did we have another keeper, Tim Seifert, by the way? Do you think he lost out? Or he was unlucky to miss out on this in this squad? Because he had a good T20 series against India the last time round in your summer.
Yeah, it's a funny one because Tom Blundell's kind of come from nowhere, really. Like he wasn't even in the Black Caps environment over the summer. Didn't play a match, and also he didn't play a one-day match or list day match for Wellington, now domestic competition, and didn't have a great Super Smash campaign as well. So for many of us, it was like, oh, how has he managed to make the Black Caps World Cup side over Tim Seifert, who, as you point out, played some handy innings for the Black Caps over the season. Look, I think it just came down to keeping.
Okay.
At the end of the day, I think what they would have said is, look, we want our backup keeper to be a proficient keeper. They obviously expect that Latham will play all matches unless injured, and they want a replacement that is a specialist wicketkeeper and who they believe can do the job behind the gloves. I don't think they've seen batting as being quite as important, because if, say, Blundell was to come in the side, Blundell would possibly bat 6, 7 or 8. So it's all about the keeping. But I definitely understand. A lot of people were very supportive of Tim Seifert and expected him to be in the side. But I think at the end of it came down to keeping. I mean, BJ Watling was another one that has been mentioned as a potential backup keeper. But when you actually look at BJ Watling's ODI career, look, he's averaging in the 20s with a strike rate of 68. And BJ Watling, if he was going to be in the side, and batting at number 6 or 7, is he a guy that's going to clear the rope? Because you need a guy that's a good striker of the ball down in that position. And I think that's where they felt that Tom Blundell probably had the edge over BJ, and that's why he got the nod as the backup keeper.
Right. Interestingly, yeah, that's a good point. Comparing this with what India have done with their squad, because we also saw their squad announced a few days ago. India have gone for Dinesh Karthik instead of Rishabh Pant, and Rishabh Pant is more of an explosive batsman towards the end, but I think at that point in time he didn't have the finishing skills with his bat. But comparing, the New Zealand squad and Indian squad, so like you said, Indian team has basically gone for one specialist keeper in Dhoni and a backup because Dinesh Karthik was in fact told that he would be just added to the squad as a backup keeper and not as a wicket-keeper batsman. So it's probably on similar lines that New Zealand have gone for Tom Blundell as a specialist keeper backup.
And we also need to remember that in the 2015 World Cup, the Black Caps only used 13 players.
Right.
So realistically, do you need to have? Sorry, the phone's ringing. I mean, do you really realistically need to have a squad of 15?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah,
that you expect that are all going to play. I mean, you've only got 13 that are realistically going to play all matches, and basically your 14th and 15th player is spare parts.
Yeah. Well, you have to consider. You have to admire Pakistan, for example. They haven't gone with any backup keeper. They've just gone with a captain, wicketkeeper batsman, Sarfraz, and he's just a captain as well. So what if he breaks down? So they don't have a backup there. So maybe the backup keeper will not be used at all. So yeah, I think it's interesting that some teams have gone with a backup keeper and some have not. We'll see how it all goes in the end.
Well, one small addition. I think for Pakistan, the Abid Ali, who's a backup opener, can also be a backup keeper, it looks like.
Well, he's not a specialist keeper, is he?
No, I think he's sort of a makeshift.
Yeah, some teams have gone with one specialist keeper and then a specialist backup keeper, right?
Of course.
I guess with India, I mean, Karthik is a pretty handy wicket keeper. He's pretty proficient behind the stumps, and he can play in that kind of finisher role as well. I mean, you look at the Australian side. Look, they've only gone with the one specialist keeper. Look what happens if Carey gets injured early on in the tournament. Then what happens? Pulls a hamstring or something. At that point, you can't just let him rest for a couple of weeks and get him fit for the later stages of the tournament.
Yeah,
you're basically going to have to make a replacement, or you're going to have to use maybe Aaron Finch, or the other name that has been bandied around is David Warner. But would you want an Aaron Finch or a David Warner wicket keeping in an important match waiting for Carey to get fit?
No.
Yeah. Well, yeah, good point. I think even South Africa have a similar conundrum. I think David Miller is the designated backup keeper to Quinton de Kock, right?
Mm-hmm. But can you keep for 50 overs and then also come out to bat with a fresh back? Let's say it's interesting team compositions.
Well, I mean, as you put it earlier, most teams are looking to probably, go through the entire World Cup with one keeper. It's 11, 12 matches, it's possible, and there's enough breaks in between, so to say. So at least that's the punt many teams have. But some teams like India or New Zealand have gone for a proper backup keeper as well. Somebody, in case need be, is a full gloveman rather than a makeshift one, right? Now, going on with the batters. Adam, do you see, would Colin Munro open, or would maybe Nichols open with Guptill, do you think?
Well, now this is going to be a big talking point. Now, in the last series against Bangladesh, Henry Nicholls was given the opening slot with Martin Guptill. Colin Munro was brought in for the third match against Bangladesh, and he failed, unfortunately, for Colin Munro. So, to be honest, I'm not sure. I really don't know which way they're going to go. At this point, if you ask me to make a decision on the spot, I would say they'll probably go in with Henry Nicholls.
Rick?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Adam. I think what's been flying around in the press in New Zealand is that it's been made fairly clear to Colin Munro that his role in the squad is as backup batsman and backup all-rounder. My own personal opinion, he's actually more likely to play in the middle order as an all-rounder. I think that we will certainly start with Nicholls opening in the World Cup. It's not an ideal situation. He's only had a couple of games opening, but really Munro has failed for a couple of years in that position. And I think as long as Nicholls does at least moderately well, I would expect him to open throughout the round robin stage.
Right. I mean, Kane Williamson at 3 is probably unshakable there, and probably Ross Taylor immediately after him. Yep. But then who else will make up the rest of the middle order, you guys think?
I think. Oh, you go, Rick.
Well, basically, Guptill will open with Nicholls. It'll be Williamson at 3, Taylor at 4, and Latham at 5, and then we get into the all-rounders. That's been with the exception of this opening position that we've just discussed, that's been a very settled format for a couple of years. I wouldn't expect any changes, Adam, to that, would you?
No, I think that'll be the side. I think you're looking probably number 6, Jimmy Neesham, number 7, Colin de Gromholm, number 8, Mitchell Santner, 9, Lockie Ferguson, and then you've got Bolt and Southey or Henry. For me, that's kind of the make-up. If you bring in another spinner now, this is when it gets quite interesting. Right. Who goes out? So if they decide to play Mitchell Santner and they decide to play Sodhi, how do you accommodate Sodhi in the side? And you can see how that kind of changes the balance of the side. So if you bring in Sodhi, do you drop a bowler? Or I'm talking about a Ferguson or maybe a Henry or a Southey, or do you then look at Neesham or de Gromholm? And this is where it's going to be really interesting. I think Lockie Ferguson at this stage of his career is more suited to bowling in the middle stages, which means he covers that role. So you can't really take him out of the equation for me, because you do need that enforcer in the middle. I don't think you can take another seamer out. So if you do take another seamer out, it does lighten up the bowling a little bit, which means then, though, you'd have to take out either de Gromholm or Jimmy Neesham, and that really weakens the batting a little bit. That means that Mitchell Santner has to bat number 7. So it does change the balance of the side if you bring a Sodhi in there.
Right. Yeah, I think just to add to that, Adam, I think it's pretty clear if Sodhi does play, they will actually leave out one of the bowlers, because I can't see us not having all-rounders at 6, 7 and 8. I can't see them wanting to weaken the batting lineup. So it really leaves a situation where you would imagine at the moment Bolt and Ferguson are the 2 quick bowlers certain to play, along with Mitchell Santner, and then the all-rounders sharing the 5th bowling slot. And depending on conditions, it will be either Henry or Southey as a quick bowler, or Sodhi as a second spinner. It does then make it interesting who will actually open the bowling, because it quite possibly would not be Lockie Ferguson with Bolt. It might well be Mitchell Santner or Colin de Gromholm opening the bowling, and and I think Adam has just explained very, very well why I was saying earlier I don't think Sodhi is going to play that many games, because I think the captain and coach will need to be convinced that the second spinner at an expense of one of the opening bowlers is a good ploy, and that's probably not going to apply to most of the pitches in England.
Mitchell Santner did bat well at number 7 against England last year.
Yep.
So if he did bat it up the order, I'm sure he can do the job. But it does make that batting order look a little bit light. It really puts a lot of pressure then on our top order to deliver. And then when you're talking about the hitting power down the order, then a lot of that will be up to Neesham and Santner to deliver. That's my only concern.
Right.
Then you've got obviously Sodhi coming at number 8, and then you've got the 3 bowlers. So, look, it'll be an interesting decision whether Sodhi comes in for a frontline seamer, or do they take out one of the all-rounders? I guess it all depends on form during the tournament.
Indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Some very interesting points there, and I think we've gone through the squad in a very exhaustive manner, thanks to both of you guys, right? Let's look at the matches of New Zealand quickly. I'll give the itinerary of New Zealand, and maybe if Adam and then Rick, you guys could give us your predictions, right? The number of matches you think they'll win, or rather, which one they'll lose easily, and then how many matches they would end up with at the end of the group stage, right? So if you look at their entire itinerary, they start off against Sri Lanka on the 1st of June at the Cardiff Vale Stadium. Then they play on the 5th at the Oval versus Bangladesh. This is a midday game, right? And then again, another midday game is on the 8th versus Afghanistan. Let me just go through the entire itinerary. Then maybe you guys can tell me which are the matches that they expect to win and then lose. So then you have, of course, Trent Bridge against India on the 13th. It's an early morning start. Then Edgbaston on the 19th, where they play South Africa. This is also an early morning start. And the midday start is against West Indies at Old Trafford on the 22nd. 26th, you have Edgbaston versus Pakistan, which is an early morning start. Lord's midday. And then, of course, you have the last match, which is against England, right? Also on the 29th, they play Australia. Of course, I forgot to say that. So these are, let's say, the matches that they play. I'm curious how do you guys think they'll do? So maybe Adam, you could go first, then Rick.
Okay. Well, look, that's a really interesting start to the tournament that you've just pointed out. You know, we've got Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan in the first 3 matches. I'm not sure whether that's the best start for the Black Caps in a way to have 3 teams without being disrespectful that the Black Caps should win against and win reasonably well.
Right.
I would have thought. I mean, I can see us beating Sri Lanka. Obviously, there's been a few issues within the Sri Lankan camp. A few players not selected for their World Cup squad. We creamed them in the series in New Zealand recently. Bangladesh, again, likewise. Afghanistan are always an interesting prospect. They've come on leaps and bounds since the 2015 World Cup. We know how good Rashid Khan is, but I think we just have too much quality. Even though they could possibly compete at various stages in the match against us, I think we'll win that. And we're generally a very consistent side, and we tend not to lose matches against those minnows. So I think we'll start the tournament 3-0. So who was the next game against? India?
India.
The 4th one is India, yes.
India's interesting. Again, we were hammered by India in the series at home. Interesting thing with the Indian side is that we haven't played India in a World Cup match since 2003. So it's been a long time between drinks. They're going to be a massive challenge for us, obviously. They beat us 4-1 at home. We played well in that match at Seddon Park. India were without Virat Kohli on that day. The pitch was moving around a bit, and Trent Bolt got some great assistance and was able to really rip through the Indian top order. On form, you'd say India will win that match. The next match is
versus South Africa at Edgbaston, early morning start.
This is going to be a really interesting match for me. I think South Africa are going under the radar a little bit. Usually they are pre-tournament favourites or right up there. But this time around, there hasn't been much talk about South Africa. And you look at that South African side, they still have quality players. You think of Amla, think of de Kock, Faf du Plessis, who is underrated, in my opinion, in the one-day game. Fantastic in the middle stages. David Miller, we know how destructive he is. Germany's been a bit of a thorn in the New Zealand side over the last few years, and probably going back a decade. You're looking at the bowlers, Rabada. I mean, look, he's been incredible form in the IPL. Dale Steyn, we don't know whether he's going to be fit for the World Cup. I think he should be right from some of the reports I've read. But he's bowled well in the few IPL matches that he played. He was bowling with great pace. Imran Tahir, he's got a great record. So they've still got some really good quality players. I think it's going to be a really, really interesting match, actually. And I think this match could end up deciding who actually gets the fourth semi-final spot. Because even though South Africa don't have AB de Villiers, they still have quality players. And that bowling lineup really worries me. They can go through any side in the world. And they blitzed Australia before Christmas, didn't they? There was that match in WA where they really ripped out Australia's top order, and all the bowlers are on form. And Imran Tahir again is dangerous in the middle stages. Quality bowling lineup. Don't have as much depth in the batting, but they still have a quality top order. I'd like to think that we can just edge South Africa in this one. We've actually got a very good record against South Africa in World Cups, obviously beating them in 2015. We beat them in 2011 in important matches. Beat them in 2003 at the Wanderers at their home ground. Stephen Fleming with that fantastic 100 after Herschel Gibbs scored 100 for South Africa in their first innings. Going back to 1992 as well, when we beat them in the 1992 World Cup. So we've got a really good record against South Africa in World Cup. So I think that we can definitely get over the line. In saying that, generally in World Cup matches, South Africa are usually favourites against us. So this time around, we may end up go into that match as favourites, or possibly on even odds with them. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Right. Then you have West Indies, Pakistan, Australia. Next three matches.
West Indies are a dangerous one. I actually picked them to make the semi-finals. And I picked them a year or so ago. I remember talking with you, Rick, about that. I thought if they could get all their players back, and they got Gale back, and we saw how well Gale played against England. Dre Russ, I mean, he's been carving up in the IPL. If Dre Russ comes in the 40th over and you've set a platform, watch out. He can destroy any bowling attack in the world. They've come on so well. I mean, the younger players in particular, Hetmeyer, Shai Hope, that Poran who's playing the IPL, he looks like an exciting talent. Irvin Lewis exploded onto the T20 scene, the one-day scene a few years ago. I remember that 100 Lewis got against England, cracked the ball around the park, an exciting player. So looking at them, they are going to be dangerous. The only weakness for the West Indies for me is the bowling lineup. I think this is going to be a really interesting game, a fascinating game actually. I'd like to think that we can get over the West Indies. Historically, we've done well against the West Indies. We beat the West Indies in a series in New Zealand a few seasons back, and we won that series really well. But this is a different West Indian side at the moment. And they are a confident side, and everybody knows when West Indies are confident and they get the fun back into the game and they're excited, they play a different brand of cricket. And when they're confident, they can be really, really hard to beat. And as it showed against England, when they're in the mood and they're loving their cricket, they can be world beaters. And look, they beat England in the Test series, albeit with a Test specialist side. They carried that confidence into the one-day side. Look, they're going to be dangerous, and led by Jason Holder, who's one of the best all-rounders in the world. So, yeah, another crucial game. I can't give you a winner, but I would like to think that we can beat the West Indies.
Interesting. So then Pakistan and Australia, and then England at the end.
Pakistan, again, an interesting side, a little bit like West Indies in their temperament. We beat Pakistan a couple of seasons ago at home, won that series 5-0. Pakistan competed in patches. They've got a good top order. When you look at Zaman, you look at Al-Haq, and you look at Babar Azam. The only thing with Pakistan for me is that top three have got really good records, but who have they got their runs against? Zaman got that 100 against India in the Champions Trophy a couple of seasons back. But a lot of that top three have got runs against some of the lesser nations. And if you go to Cricinfo and you filter
their averages and their overall records against the big four, and I'm talking about South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, India,
Right.
who are ahead of them in the one-day rankings. They're not as good as what they are against, say, the lower to middle tier teams.
Right.
So though they on paper they've got a good top three, for me it's still coming together for them. Their middle order, look, that's an edge where we've got over them. Shoaib Malik, Hafiz, they're veterans, to be honest. I mean, would they make the Black Caps middle order? Probably not. I don't think. Malik, in his early days, we know it's of a damaging player he was with the bat. Was a decent change spin bowler. Haris Sahel has come on a lot in the last season or so and had a good series against Australia and the UAE. And he's always shown that he's had talent. Then when you look at that all-rounder slot, sorry, not going to the whole Pakistan side here. When you look at that all-rounder slot, for me, that they're not as dangerous as what they used to be. They used to have a lot of flamboyant hitters, that 6, 7, and 8 position when you had guys like Afridi. And Afridi used to be the Achilles heel on the Black Caps for many years, come in and score quick 50s that would actually destroy us. But they don't seem to have that kind of player in their side anymore. And then when you look at their bowlers, look, you've got Shadab Khan, who, from reports, won't be in the side going to England due to hepatitis C. Will he make the World Cup? I'm not sure. But we know he's a great talent. Hassan Ali started off his one-day career fantastically well, was at one point averaging 2 wickets a game, has struggled a little bit over the last year. He hasn't been in the one-day form. We know how Amir has really struggled in the last year or so in one-day cricket. I mean, whether he will be in the World Cup squad, that's another mystery. But again, in the Champions Trophy, he on the bigger stage when it mattered, he got the ball moving around, and he obviously ripped out the Indian top order on that occasion. For me, and Junaid Khan and the new kid bowling 150 plus. So, for me on paper, the Black Caps should win this game.
Right. All right. So that leaves them playing against your cousins, Australia, and then, of course, England.
Aussie's an interesting one. If you would have asked me, 6 months ago, I would have said, yeah, I would have put us as favourites. Now, I'd say Australia will have the edge in this one. You get David Warner back.
Right.
You get Steve Smith back. You've got Khawaja, who's just exploded in the last month or so. He wasn't even the first choice opening batsman for Australia prior to Christmas. They tried Short, they tried Chris Lynn, they tried that big hitter block bash approach at the top of the order. Khawaja's come in. He's done exceptionally well. Aaron Finch found some form. You've got Warner, you've got Smith. You've got, who am I leaving up? Glenn Maxwell. You've just got all and he's playing well at the moment. They just look so strong, their batting lineup. Their bowlers, yeah. I mean, look, they're the world class, aren't they? I mean, Pat Cummins for me was outstanding for Australia over the last summer for them, especially in India on flat decks. He just keeps running in, and he's the spearhead of the Australian attack. Mitchell Starc is coming back from injury. Will he be the same as he was prior to injury? He's barely played a one-day match in the last few seasons. If he's fit and rearing to go, we know how dangerous he's going to be. Zamp has improved his form a lot in the last few months and got some crucial wickets against India. Look, it's going to be a really, really big contest. They dusted us in a series in Australia a few seasons back. But then when they came over here, we beat them in the Chapel Hadley series and won and retained the trophy. So, look, it's just going to be a really, really, really interesting contest. This and New Zealand versus Australian contests and World Cups are always big. You think 1992 when we beat them at Eden Park, 96 when Lee Jamon put himself up the order and Chris Harris got that 130. Australia chased that down, but it was a really incredible match. 1999, Roger Twos and Chris Cairns led the Black Caps to a victory over Australia in Cardiff. That was a great victory for us. Australia went on to win that tournament. 2003, they crushed us in a semi-final after Shane Bond had them in all sorts of trouble. Bevan and Bickle put on a good partnership, and then our top order were blitzed by Brett Lee, 2007 as well, going through that tournament. So yeah, I mean, look, we've got a history of big matches against Australia, and I think this one's will again be important. But I'd probably say Australia.
Right. Then I keep referring to them as your cousins. I hope it's not a sore point. I'm just trying to be funny, right?
No, it's all right.
All right. Then there's one quick question I would like to just ask you. It's about these matches that I think Tom Latham will lead New Zealand against Australia. Then there's a 3-match series that's been planned sometime in May. What's that all about?
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting series, and obviously a few of the frontline guys just wanted a bit of a break, and they wanted to give some of the other guys in the wider squad some practice before the tournament starts. We've got Kane Williamson, Trent Boult, Southey, Santner, and they're all playing IPL at the moment, and Guptill's playing in there as well.
Right.
And Colin Munro. So, yeah, it's just probably giving some of those guys in the wider squad a game, and also getting Tom Latham back into some form as well. Ross Taylor's also playing county cricket.
Exactly.
So it's just generally the guys that aren't playing any current cricket at the moment, getting them back into some form and getting them some cricket under their belts.
Right. So the last one, the big one, versus England.
Wow. Interesting. This is a different England side to the one that we beat in the 2015 World Cup, and we all know that. The series after the 2015 World Cup between the two nations was a really great series. It was a real high-scoring series. Scores close to 400. I think 400 was eclipsed on an occasion by England, and they really reinvented themselves after the World Cup. Butler, Bairstow, we all know how good they are. Look, on paper, I'd say England will win this. They beat us in a series 3-2 a season back.
Right.
It was a really good series. 2 of those matches that England won, they really crushed us big time. One at the Mount and in the final match in Christchurch, and it was going to a decider. We didn't get any runs on the board on that occasion, and Bairstow played out of his skin in that occasion, and they cruised to victory. I think they were going well over 7 runs and over at one point. England are going to be strong. I mean, there's a lot of issues with England at the moment, with what's happened with Alex Hales. Will Jofra Archer be back in? But I think the England side at the moment, I mean, they look really, really strong. So based on that, look, I think on paper, you'd have to say England go into that match as favourites.
Right. So, I mean, first of all, I think before we summarize your thoughts here, I would like to say thank you. You gave us sort of some interesting thoughts also about the other teams. So that was very nice for us, right? And the other one, I think I have to mention this again. I can't believe in this instant recall you have about all the matches that the Kiwis have played over the years. This is fantastic. This World Cup, that World Cup. How do you keep it in your mind, man? How do you do that?
I've got no idea.
Fantastic. All right.
No, I don't know how he does it either. I have to write things down. I would basically agree with most of what Adam said there, and without going into detail, I actually think that whether New Zealand make the semi-finals or not will largely depend on the game against the West Indies. I really think that's almost a semi-final eliminator. I see us winning the first 3. I see us beating, but not easily, Pakistan and South Africa. It's 6 wins that will definitely get you to the semi-finals. If there's rain interruptions, 5 might. So I think that 6th win. Because I think we will, like Adam, that we will probably lose to India, Australia, and England for the reasons he's given. That 6th win will have to be against the West Indies. And so I actually think, and with that coming in our 6th game, when the situation by then will be fairly clear, I think that's almost a semi-final eliminator. I'm on balance picking West Indies. To be 60-40 to winning that. I'm going along with Adam, but I'm obviously hoping that New Zealand win that one, because I think if we win that one, then we'll make the semi-finals at the expense of West Indies.
All right. What do you say,
What's
Adam? You agree with that?
What's interesting about the tournament now is around robin. So, we've been used to this group stage format since the 1992 World Cup. Now, what was interesting about the 92 World Cup was Pakistan made the fourth spot with 4 wins, 3 losses, and a no result. Now, they started the tournament off really, really slowly, and they built momentum, and they went through, and they won the tournament, obviously, in the end by beating England in the final. And what's interesting is with the round robin format for me, it doesn't matter if a team goes through that whole tournament, or the group stage, or the round robin stage, whatever you like to call it, undefeated, or go into the semi-finals 8-1. All it takes is you to make the semi-finals. Now, what are the conditions going to be like in England around there? Will there be no results due to rain? Will there be the odd a tie chucked in there? How much will run rate matter in this tournament? So for me, it's going to be really interesting on that front. I think all matches are going to be really crucial. Just looking at that start of the schedule, I actually haven't, to be honest, I didn't really look at New Zealand's schedule until you actually mentioned it to me.
Right.
For me, what's concerning me is just how soft that start is for us. We've basically got 3 matches that we should win, and we should win well, and then we're into India. That's my biggest concern looking at that start for us. And on the flip side, you've got a side like South Africa. From memory, we've got like England, Australia, and India.
Right.
So if South Africa can somehow beat one of those sides in their first 3 matches, it'll give them a lot of confidence going forward. But for us, our start of our tournament is against 3 teams we should beat.
Yeah, but on the other side of the coin, Adam, if we do win those 3, then we'll be top of the table going into the 4th game against India with 3 wins out of 3. So there's actually two ways of looking at it. But I understand the danger is that we go into the 4th game against India a little bit underprepared if we've had 3 relatively straightforward forward wins. But there's also the confidence factor. I think the other thing to mention is I think there is a bit of lack of confidence after the way we got absolutely hammered by India 4-1 at home, and India showed themselves to be really stronger in all departments. So it may be a blessing for the Black Caps because if we get 3 wins on the board, even if they're not against a difficult opposition, that increases our confidence levels going into the game. So I'm not sure given the situation we're in going into the World Cup with a very bad series loss to India, that's actually a bad thing. That's just my view.
Well, I mean, they did beat Bangladesh afterwards, but also they have these 3 matches prep series, right, against this Australia team that's being played in May. And I think they will be okay. So, I mean, if I summarize your thoughts, Rick and Adam, you think, let's say, the matches against South Africa, West Indies might be crucial, and also against Australia, right? If I'm not wrong.
I do. I guess the other thing we need to think about in terms of World Cups is there's always an upset along the line, isn't there? There's always a smaller nation that beats one of the top nations. We've seen that in many World Cups, whether it was back in 1992 when Zimbabwe beat England, in 1996 when Kenya beat the West Indies, 1999 when Ireland beat Pakistan. I mean, you go through all World Cups. Kenya, I mean, there's always a surprise, isn't there? And all it takes is one of those minnows or smaller nations or whatever you like to call it,
right,
beating one of the top nations, and then it completely changes the complexity of the World Cup. And
right.
and that's what we could see again this time. On paper, when you look at it, you would say that coming from a New Zealand perspective, we've lost matches against indeciders, against South Africa, against India, against Australia, and against England since the 2015 World Cup. So that right there is 4 losses. So if we beat the rest of the teams that we should beat on paper, that gives us a record of 5-4. So it'll be interesting to see whether, number one, that happens, or whether we can jag or win against one of those big four that I just mentioned. As I said, we've lost deciding matches of series against those four teams, and for me that's always been the concern with us going into crucial series deciders. We just haven't been able to do it against England, against India a couple of seasons ago, against Australia, against South Africa. So that'll be crucial. So if we can jag and win against one of those sides, it'll give us a lot of confidence for the rest of the tournament. Obviously, we've got England last, but winning a match against one of those big four early on is important. So if we could beat India, that'd be a huge step for us making the semi-finals and giving us confidence going forward.
Absolutely. I think the other thing I would say, I'm a big fan of this round robin format, and it of course created a superb World Cup competition when it was last used back in '92. I certainly will not be surprised to see Afghanistan win 3 or 4 games. If there's going to be any major upsets, I think it will be Afghanistan taking out one of the big boys. I don't think they're a good enough side to do it every game, but I could certainly see them beating one of the big three.
Right. I mean, no team would take Afghanistan team lightly, I would say, right? So I would say, so between the two of you, one after the other, Adam, maybe then Rick, will New Zealand make the semi-finals, yes or no?
Well, I hope we do. I remember having a chat with you, Rick, and Dave, who's also on the Cricketeers a few months ago, and even going back probably 6 months ago before the start of the season, where I said I think this will be the first time New Zealand misses out on the semi-finals in years. And sometimes for me, it's not necessarily about how well you play. There's other circumstances for me. Sometimes teams that win big tournaments have a story behind them or a narrative. You think about other codes, football, for example, and France winning the World Cup in football, or Germany, and there's always a certain story, a narrative, how teams get to the final and win it. And for me, this team isn't as good as what it was in 2015. There's still some issues there. We've talked about the opening positions. Gardner Guptill was one of the best opening batsmen in one-day cricket. I mean, let's be honest, he's fantastic. For me, he's just behind Rohit Sharma. And we know how good he can be and can get big hundreds when he gets going, like Rohit. But it's just that other opening slot. We haven't sorted that out yet. Henry Nicholls is still a bit of an unknown quantity. Okay, he did play well against Bangladesh, but can he do this now against the big four, so to speak? That'll be interesting. Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor, their records speak for themselves. For me, they're the best middle order batsmen in the world together. They're two of the best players in the middle stages at being able to manipulate and control an innings of a one-day match. So there's no issues there. Tom Latham's developed well. Then obviously we talked about the all-rounders. Can the all-rounders do the job this time around? Big pressure on them on a big occasion. The bowlers, Trent Boult, outstanding, one of the top bowlers in the world. We know he will perform. So for me, it's going to be whether our supporting cast can back up our big four players for me, and if they can do that, we can go far in the World Cup. But as I said, when I look at this side on paper compared to 2015, I think the 2015 team was just more settled. Brendan McCullum moved up the top of the order. Martin Guptill was in vintage form. Williamson Taylor, Corey Anderson was in terrific form leading into that World Cup against India a few seasons beforehand. Then against Sri Lanka. Then you had Grant Elliott, who was brought back into the side. But Grant Elliott, people forget about Grant Elliott, as he scored a match-winning 100 against Australia early on in his career. So he was always a guy that could handle pressure. Luke Ronke was in great form. Daniel Vettori, we know how experienced he was. And then obviously the bowlers in home conditions. So when I look at this team compared to that team, I don't think we're quite as good. And I'm not sure what our narrative is to win the World Cup. So, look, I'll stay with my original prediction and say I think we'll just miss out. I don't think we'll play bad cricket, I think we'll play well in patches, but I think that we might just miss out, and it could be a case of possibly due to run rate,
Right.
or no result.
Agree with him, Rick?
Yeah, I think it's a very difficult one. I actually think New Zealand will become in the round robin stages will be fourth or fifth. Is my view. I'll still come back and say I think the game against the West Indies is pretty much decided. That is a very difficult one to call because with new players, or not new players, but players who have been largely out of their national team coming back in, you never quite know how the team is going to gel. But that did happen for the qualifying tournament, and they of course won that, and actually played quite well in the end.
Right.
If I had to put my money one way, I'd go for fifth rather than fourth. But I'm obviously hoping it's going to be going to be fourth. But on balance, I'm just with Adam. I'm sort of 60-40 on us being fifth in the round robin stage. So putting up a good performance. And like Adam, I don't think our team is quite as strong as it was in 2015 either. I'm concerned as that we need the middle order players to fire, and although they're reasonable players, they just not quite the same as the middle order we had in the last World Cup.
Right. All right. Thanks for your thoughts there, both of you. I think Giri, quickly, I think you have a more bullish prediction. Yeah.
No, I'm going to be the eternal optimist here, considering their current ODI ranking in the world. As well, I'm going to say New Zealand will win at least 5 matches in the round robin. And there will be a couple of close ones against, for example, South Africa, maybe also West Indies or Australia. But I'm going to give it to New Zealand in all those, ambiguous scenarios. So I'll make it 7 wins for New Zealand, and hopefully they'll make it to semi-finals, and hopefully the cup is theirs this time.
Wow. All right. All right.
Wow.
No, it belies logic, I know, but that's what I would like to see.
We will be absolutely delighted if that all happens. Yeah.
All right, guys, you heard it here for the first time. New Zealand will take the cup home.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So
I hope your predictions are better than mine then.
These are predictions, right? So, yeah.
Well, to round it out, I would say I'm going to be a bit pessimistic. I think it'll basically boil down to the match between South Africa and New Zealand, and of course versus West Indies for New Zealand, as far as I'm concerned. Most of the rest of the results we've already discussed it very thoroughly. I think if these 2 matches New Zealand can win, they'll qualify for the semi-finals. Even if they miss out on one of those, they are going to not make the semi-finals. This is my prediction, right? It's going to go down on both those matches. That's my prediction. But I sort of root for the New Zealand team always. They are the dark horses for me. And earlier in one of the other shows as well, we sort of predicted New Zealand will be our dark horses along with the West Indies. Let's really hope for the best here, right? All right, guys.
What's interesting about this World Cup, though, it's probably the first time that New Zealand won't go into the tournament as like a dark horse, I think. We are amongst, I guess, some of the teams that people are talking about to win the World Cup. I mean, for me, the dark horse, when I think about it, there's 2 for me. There's the West Indies, who perform well against England, and they've got some of their stars back, and also for me, South Africa, because again, South Africa are going to go into this tournament without AB de Villiers and without the pressure of being favourites. So it could actually help South Africa. They could end up winning some very important matches. I think a lot of people are underestimating how good they could be, because they beat Aussie before Christmas, and they beat Sri Lanka. What was it, 5-0? I think in the recent one day series. So watch out for them, I reckon.
Right.
Yeah. Good point.
All right. Interesting. Thanks a lot for a very thorough chat, guys. It was totally entertaining and totally informative for us as well. So I would like to say thanks a lot for being a part of this section of the podcast with us. So would you like to say a few things about your podcast? Maybe plug anything, guys?
Yeah. Look, our podcast is on every week. Is on Sunday New Zealand time, 5 p.m. It also gets released on iTunes. You can find our podcast on the our Cricketeers Twitter page, which is Cricketeers NZ. So that's cricket, then Tears, TEERS, and then NZ. We've also got a Facebook page as well. Again, Cricketeers NZ. So you can find our Facebook page there and our Twitter page, and listen to some of our rambling thoughts about cricket and our opinions about the New Zealand side, which obviously on this show haven't been so optimistic today.
Nah, that's okay. That's okay. I'd rather be a bit pessimistic, I'd say. Rick?
Yeah, I would just add to that. We've also got a Facebook page, New Zealand cricket fans, which can have some entertaining discussion, particularly when there's games on.
New Zealand Cricket Fan Forum.
Forum, correct. Yep, sorry, forum. Yep.
All right. Perfect. Also, I think you can find the Cricketeers podcast on Podbean, where I listen to my podcast, and our podcast is also published there. So you can also listen to them there, and also on Apple Podcasts, if I'm not wrong. So that was very entertaining, guys. Thanks a lot. And I hope we can collaborate again with each other shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, thanks for having us on the show. It's been great chatting about the World Cup, and probably rambled on a little bit too much, but thanks very much for the opportunity to be on your podcast. It was great meeting you guys, and as you point out, it's be great to chat at some time in the future. I'm sure we will. Looking forward to the 2019 World Cup. I'm sure it's going to be an awesome occasion. It's got great cricket, and whoever wins, I think we'll all be thrilled and entertained by the quality of cricket on display.
All right. I mean, maybe during the World Cup, maybe after a couple of league matches, we can also invite you guys back as guests and to analyze what's going on, right? Let's see.
Absolutely. Most enjoyable. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thanks very much, guys. Talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Yeah, bye-bye.
All right, then. Moving on, let's look at the other World Cup related news. So the main news this week is that West Indies have announced their team, one of the last teams to announce their team for the World Cup, and they've pulled a few surprises on us, Kiri. Were you able to take a look at the team?
Yeah, big surprises actually. Test match specialists, or that's what we thought of them, like Kemar Roach and Shannon Gabriel. They've both been included in the squad.
Right.
And I think they come in for Alzarri Joseph, and who was the other guy? Roston Chase has been left out from our prediction. And Fabian Allen comes in.
Right.
Yeah, and I think unlucky to miss out were some of the people like, we thought Pollard would be given a chance, but I think he has not been included. Sunil Narayan has not been included. Rovman Powell has not been included. Kimo Paul does not make the cut.
Right.
And so I think big surprises were those two names, Kemar Roach and Shannon Gabriel.
Indeed.
Alzarri Joseph, I think, has been injured as well, so I don't know if he will be ready for World Cup. But then again, he's not picked anyway. So, but other big names do remain. So people like Chris Gale, Evan Lewis, Shea Hope, wicketkeeper batsman, Darren Bravo, Shimron Hetmeyer, Jason Holder, Carlos Brathwaite also is in the squad. O'Shane Thomas, fast bowler, Ashley Nurse, the spinning all-rounder, Sheldon Cottrell and Nicholas Puran, the other wicket-keeper batsman. But, to our delight, Andre Russell does make a comeback. So it's good to see. It's a little bit off-balanced, I would say, because they are going in with Ashley Nurse, who is the specialist spinner, I think, in their squad. I don't know if someone else can roll their arm over. For example, Chris Gale can, but who is the other spinner? I can't find the spinner here, another spinner here in the squad. Any backup?
Yeah, no, that's a fairly good point. You can't see Bravo or Hetmeyer or one of those people, or even Lewis. I've never seen them bowl. So much like the New Zealand team that we were discussing earlier, they don't have a top order player who can also bowl a few overs of spin. I think it'll fall back on the universe boss possibly to bowl a few overs, right? All right, that was the West Indies team surprise as far as we are concerned.
Yeah.
But going forward, there are a couple of unfortunate news in English World Cup related squad. So one, Sam Billings, who was not exactly in the squad but was in and around the setup, and he could have been named in the 15. Let's say he has injured himself in the ODI or the List A match while representing Kent, and Ben Foakes has been called into his place for the Pakistan ODI series upcoming. Right.
Yeah.
This is very unfortunate for Billings, I think, because he had a good chance of making the 15 as one of the backup batters, right? The other backup batter who's also sort of named to make the 15, Alex Hales, has sort of been given a 21-day ban because of some recreational drug use, and he's been caught in the preseason testing. So they have a hair follicle testing regimen in the English county circuit in the preseason setup, and because of this, he's been found out, and he's been given a 21-day ban. So we don't know whether he'll yet make the World Cup because the ban will run out well before the World Cup begins, and he's a backup opener, right, Kiri?
Yeah, he has a previous history, right? So, but anyway, I think even if he does not make the cut, they have a strong enough side, England, so it should be okay even without him, I would say.
Right. Yeah, but it's unfortunate on the player himself.
On the player himself, yes. Yeah.
He makes it though. All right. Now, going further, let's look at some of the other news outside of the main cricketing and the World Cup related news. And first of all, we would like to congratulate United States of America, Oman, and Namibia for securing the ODI status because of their positions in the ongoing World Cricket League Division 2 tournament, right? So Oman and Namibia have made the finals, and USA finished third. As a result, they are all securing the ODI status. This means there's a big boost in the amount of funding that they secure from ICC, and also all their matches will now be counted as ODIs. So that's a great thing for them, don't you think, Kiri?
Congratulations to them. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, we you remember earlier this year, Netherlands were touring Oman for a tri-series with I believe it was Scotland.
Right.
For T20 series.
Exactly.
So that actually was one of the first ever occasions that I heard about an Omani cricket team. And now they've already got ODI status, which is very good to them. I think well done to all these teams, and hope to see them play against top-rung, cricketing nations. Maybe even the next countries like Afghanistan, Zimbabwe, and all these teams should play against these. I think they should get more exposure as well.
Right. Also, I think Papua New Guinea. I hope I got the name of the team right, the country right. They also have secured ODI status as a part of the same tournament. So also congratulations to Papua New Guinea.
So there are 3 teams then. 3 teams.
4 teams actually. So
4 teams, okay.
Oman, Namibia, Papua New Guinea, and the United States. So on top of that, another news that is coming also from the same tournament, the World Cricket League Division 2, is that Claire Polosak, the Australian female umpire, will make history as the first female umpire to stand in a men's ODI match when she is slated to, umpire the finals of the same tournament versus in between Namibia and Oman, right? So congratulations to her as well. All right, then going further, some other small news in retirement news. Marisa Aguilera, the former West Indian women's keeper and captain of the team, she's going to retire from the international cricket is what we hear. So we wish her all the best for future endeavors. I think she's been a very long-standing servant of the West Indian team, women's team, and so I hope she gets as much success with her after retirement, exploits as she did on the field. Also, Ian Gould, the famous umpire, will retire after the World Cup 2019. He's announced. So, also good luck to Mr. Ian Gould. He's been a sort of a fixture with international cricket in men's international cricket for many years now. So I hope he goes into a retirement well and has success.
It's also a great occasion to retire from world cricket because he did play in the World Cup 1983 World Cup as a wicketkeeper for England. Right?
Fantastic.
So it's good to see the great guy retire. Gunnar Gould.
Yes,
it's
indeed.
called.
Yes.
But good luck to him after his World Cup.
All right. In one of the last pieces of news we'll discuss today, so it looks like Lakshman and Tendulkar have also been served notices by the BCCI Ombudsman, right? So we remember earlier Mr. Justice P.K. Jain had served notices on Ganguly, right? So he's now being also more proactive, and he's also asked Sachin Tendulkar and VVS Lakshman about their roles with their corresponding teams. So Tendulkar with Mumbai Indians and Lakshman with what are they called? Not Deccan Chargers anymore, right? Sorry.
No, they're called Sunrisers.
So of course, Sunrisers Hyderabad.
And speaking of Tendulkar, we would like to wish him a belated birthday. A couple of days ago, he had his birthday on the 24th of April.
Of course.
So the great man, I think he turned 46 now, if I'm not wrong. 45, I think, even.
Right.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Best wishes.
All right, of course. All right then. So, all that remains for us in today's episode is a trivia question. So, the trivia question for this week is, which New Zealand cricketer was credited as being the first pinch-hitting opener in ODIs, right? And thereafter, this became a norm for other teams as well. So, who's the player that has been credited with sort of being the first of his kind, a pinch-hitting opener? So, please do write in with your answers to us. You can contact us on Twitter at armchair.cricket or via our Facebook page. You can leave us a comment on our post, right? Also, you can write into us at armchair.cricket@gmail.com. Right. Also, you can leave us some comments on, for example, wherever you follow our podcast. It could be on Apple Podcast, it could be on Castbox, it could be on Podbean. Wherever you follow our podcast, please do leave us a comment and we'll get back to you if the answer is right or not. Right. And as we always say, help popularize our podcast with your cricket friends. And also, if you are interested in ever coming in as a guest, or if you have some thoughts for us on how we do our podcast, it's always welcome. So, we have, a couple of weeks of lull, I would say, where we'll be also reviewing the other teams remaining for us. And we follow a bit of IPL and then the Bonanza, the World Cup begins. So I hope you can stay tuned in to our podcast for all the upcoming episodes and the World Cup episodes as well. So we have some interesting guests joining us who will also help us analyze England and India's chances at the World Cup in the upcoming episodes. So do stay tuned in. All right then. Having said all that, it's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from him. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast.